What's going on, everyone? So let's talk about Monty Williams being fired by the Detroit Pistons today. Now, this was kind of rumored and speculated for a while. It's just kind of odd that they decided to do it now. But Detroit, their new regime, trying to fix stuff. Apparently, Monty Williams was supposed to be blindsided by this because I guess he had several meetings with the president of basketball operations and believed that he was sticking around, and then ultimately the Detroit Pistons ended up letting him go. Now, he still is owed 65 plus million for basically just going home, chilling, living his best life. But Monty Williams is available, and many people are screaming, Lakers, you got to go get Monty Williams, right? You missed out on Dan Hurley. Monty Williams. Here's the thing. Just like I said about Dan Hurley, Monty Williams is not going to take the Lakers coach job. It doesn't make sense for Monty Williams. It doesn't. Unless the Lakers give him like $25 million a year, which is insane, it doesn't make sense for Monty Williams. Monty Williams, first off, didn't even want to go into coaching after he was fired by the Suns. I mean, eventually I'm sure he did, but he wanted to kind of take a break, take some time off. But then the Detroit Pistons made him the highest paid head coach at the time, right? New coaches have gotten extensions and are making more, but at the time, Monty Williams got an absolute bag. They basically gave him an offer to where he was like, I can't just not take this, and ended up taking the Detroit Pistons job. Now, again, you have to look at the entire situation, not just the name, and he would be great with the Lakers, which we'll touch on fit with the Lakers here in a moment, but you have to look at the situation. The reason I was so adamant that Dan Hurley wasn't going to come to Lakers is because of the situation. The situation didn't make sense for him to leave to then go coach the Lakers. It's the same thing for Monty Williams. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe the Lakers will sign Monty Williams. But I think this is going to be another, hey, wow, Tyler was right type thing. Because again, the situation doesn't make sense. Monty Williams is going to get paid $65 million over the next few years to just go home and be with his family and travel and just enjoy life and kick his legs up. Why would he want to go from making $65 million a year to just being at home chilling to like, now I'm going to have to go through the turmoil that is the Lakers and deal with fans screaming for me to get fired after a 3-game losing streak, after the organization, coming down on me after, a 3-game losing streak, after just all the noise and the chaos of the circus that comes with the Lakers. Like, why would he want to do that when he could get paid an absolute bag to just stay at home and just enjoy life and relax? It doesn't even make sense from just a personal standpoint, right? Now, it doesn't mean that he doesn't want a head coach, but Monty Williams, he's not 75 to where it's like, oh man, if I spend the next 4 or 5 years sitting at home, there goes my coach. No, he's young enough to where he can ride out this contract and then come back and be a head coach if he wants to, right? Like, so for him, it doesn't make sense. Now, in a year or two, could he maybe get the itch and he's like, man, like I really want to get back into the game. I really want to be coaching again. Sure. But like, why wouldn't he take a year off right now? Right? He just got fired by 2 teams in basically a year span. He was fired in May of last year by the Phoenix Suns, got hired by the Detroit Pistons in June of last year, and now June of this year, literally in 13 months, he's been fired twice as a head coach. You think he doesn't want just like a break to just like, hey, let me unwind and kind of recalibrate here a little bit. Let me take a step back. And again, he's getting paid. The Lakers would have to pay him more than what his current contract is for it to make sense. And that's not counting taxes and everything else involved. The Lakers would literally have to probably pay him $20 to $25 million a year for him to be the head coach. That doesn't make sense for Monty Williams. I like Monty Williams. I don't think the Phoenix Suns should have fired Monty Williams. I even said when they fired Monty Williams that I thought that was a silly decision. One, they fired Monty Williams because of the conflict with DeAndre Ayton, and then you ended up trading Ayton. If you were going to keep Ayton, then fine. Then get rid of Monty Williams. But you ended up trading Ayton and decided to get rid of Monty Williams. And then even Chris Paul, there were murmurs that him and Chris Paul didn't see eye to eye. Again, you traded Chris Paul. If you were going to keep Chris Paul and you were going to keep Ayton, fine, get rid of Monty Williams, because at that point it makes sense. And I think that they should have kept Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, or turn Ayton into something else other than Nurk, right? But that's the other. That's the Phoenix Suns. They're a disaster. They're not winning anything good, right? That's one less team the Lakers have to worry about. But Monty Williams, I mean, he made sense with that team. Now look, now the Suns, they end up going and firing Frank Vogel a year later. It's a mess, right? Let them be a mess. But Detroit didn't make sense for Monty Williams, right? Monty Williams, I don't think is a bad coach, but I don't think he's as good of a coach as he's perceived. I think he's a good coach, but I don't think he's like a top 5 coach in the league, right? I think he's very good, and he had the right team and the right dominoes fell in place. You got to remember, the Lakers probably beat Phoenix if Anthony Davis doesn't get hurt. Phoenix probably loses in the first round, and Monty Williams gets fired the year that they went to the finals if Anthony Davis doesn't get hurt. The Lakers were looking like they had no answer for Anthony Davis and the Lakers. The Lakers were dominating them. And then Anthony Davis goes down, and that was it. And LeBron was already on one leg. We were dealing with a bunch of injuries. Dennis Schroeder wasn't the same after he got COVID, right? There was just all these problems that just kind of trickled down. Even Andre Drummond had like a foot injury, right? Like there was just a lot of issues with that. And Suns ended up winning that series. Dominoes fell into place. They end up going to the NBA Finals. It was like, oh, well, Monty Williams got to go. But he got exposed massively with Detroit, right? Which, again, talent, I've said this a million times, right? Like, as you could have the best coach ever, right? Like, look at what Greg Popovich has been doing with the Spurs the last few years because they just don't have the talent. You still need talent. So I'm not saying that Monty Williams, he's a terrible coach or anything. Still think he's a very good coach, but his ideas of coaching and his kind of philosophies of coaching, I don't think would translate with the Lakers. People are just looking at, this is a guy that went to an NBA Finals and looked good with the Phoenix Suns team, right? But the offensive sets that he ran in Phoenix wouldn't work with the Lakers because you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis as your 2 stars as opposed to Chris Paul and Devin Booker. So you need to run offensive set that basically funneled through the big man. DeAndre Ayton, like, what was DeAndre Ayton's biggest problem? He never got the basketball, right? Because it was more perimeter oriented. He didn't really like to go down. Well, you have Anthony Davis, right? So is the offensive scheme is he going to be able to make those adjustments if he were to come on to fit LeBron James and Anthony Davis? Also, he's had a problem dealing with players and egos and can be a bit of which I don't mind, a little confrontation. I don't like a coach I don't mind a coach that's, willing to confront players and kind of get on their behinds. But he's had issues basically with every place he's been at, right? With the star players. So does he have those same conflicts with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, right? Like, you don't want that. Now you're firing Monty Williams after a year or two, and it's like, oh, well, that didn't work. Also, Monty Williams loves to do these like hockey change, which aren't really the best idea, especially for the Lakers. It was a problem in Phoenix, and it was a huge problem in Detroit, right? It's one of the many people contribute to the reason Detroit was so bad this year because of Monty Williams. People forget, like, Detroit believed that they were at worst a play-in team. There was a lot of promise, a lot of hype going into Detroit. That's why they went and got Monty Williams, because they believed he could at least get them into the playoffs, and they were just as bad, if not worse, than they were the previous year, right? Like, Monty actually made them worse because he did it. He likes to, here's my starting 5. Let's take them all out and then put the bench 5 in and then go that right. It's just, that doesn't necessarily work. He did that in Phoenix a lot too, right? But he also, he had Devin Booker and stuff like that, so you always had to keep him in. He did it. He was a lot more extreme in Detroit, but it's been a thing, right? Like, in key moments, key times. The timeouts have also been a big theme with Monty Williams, right? A lot of people hold him. Didn't he give up like a 17 or 20-0 run in one game where they were winning by like 22 before he called the timeout? People were like clowning him and making fun of it, right? Like, again, Monty Williams has his flaws. Monty Williams has his concerns, right? Monty Williams still isn't necessarily like a lock for a championship head coach, right? He got to a finals. Yes, they had a very talented team though. And again, dominoes kind of fell into place for them. A lot of injuries happened during that year that allowed them to go there. And then they were up 2-0 against the Bucks. And then Milwaukee ends up coming back and they lose it. And a lot of people think Monty Williams was the reason that they lost because he failed to make adjustments, right? So you're talking about a coach that fails to make adjustments, and he's known to fail, that he doesn't make good adjustments. He's a guy that struggles to deal with players and egos and management. He's a guy that has concerns about calling timeouts properly. He's a guy that has concerns about rotation. right? Like, so remove, like, let's say he is willing to take the job, which I don't believe he would, even if the Lakers want Monty Williams, which reports have came out that they don't, that he's not really on their radar, because it's going to be JJ Redick. There literally are reports coming out that the deal is done. They're just working out the dollar amount, right? That JJ Redick's going to be the head coach. ESPN was literally, you had Jason Williams on ESPN basically like, good luck to JJ Redick. Like, the Lakers are trying to figure out, the first year head coach. It's going to be JJ Redick. They're not going to go through the whole process all over again and spurn JJ Redick to hire Monty Williams. Monty Williams doesn't take the job, and now they got to go back to JJ Redick again and go, oh, sorry, dude, we tried to get somebody. It doesn't make sense. The situation and scenario doesn't make sense. You can't just look at the name. You have to look at the situation. The situation doesn't make sense. Monty Williams, I don't necessarily think is the right coach for this Lakers team. I just don't. Like on paper, yes, he makes sense, right? Because he has the most experience. He's a guy that's been to the finals, right? Like you go down the list of paper. If you're just looking at paper, it's like, okay, this guy, yeah, he's the most qualified, right? But is he going to basically give up the money that he just made, that he can make for just sitting at home, right? Like, think about you and your job. Even if you love your job right now, if you could get paid your salary right now, or maybe even more, to just sit at home and be with your family, or to live your best life or whatever, if you don't have family, let's say you're single, to just basically go out and have a good time, would you rather work your job and grind and make that money, or would you rather just stay at home and get paid the same salary? Imagine if your job fired you right now and they had to pay you the salary that they owe you right now for the next 5 years. Right? Eventually you might go, I should probably get back to work, kind of get that money coming in and stacking up. Now imagine if you went back to work and they didn't have to pay you that. Would you want to go back to work, or would you want to be like, you know what? Like, I'm going to take these 5 years to kind of just, enjoy life a little bit. You gotta look at the situation. You gotta look at what the deal is here. Monty Williams just, again, doesn't make sense. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Lakers hire Monty Williams, but like I said with the Dan Hurley thing, I don't think it's realistic, and I think it's going to be JJ Redick. And I think I'm going to be right again when this comes out. But those are my opinions. Again, it's just my opinion. I'm not an insider, just a guy, just a fan like everyone else. I don't know. I'm just going off of the information that we have. And the information we have says that Monty Williams isn't going to take the job. Could be wrong. Love to hear your thoughts and opinions, because this is a discussion, as always. So I want to hear yours down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you want Monty Williams to agree with me that, Monty Williams is come because of the money? Do you think, he's not the right coach? Do you think he is the right coach, but he's still not going to come because of the money? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. If you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.